Kyle, you've written a wonderful and very informative book called Practices of Love that really talks about the spiritual practices and spiritual disciplines and particularly how it helps reorient a person's heart. Mm-hmm. Can you tell me just a little bit about a practice that you would help youth workers see and use and suggest and exactly how that works with reorienting a person's heart?
So I'm trying to do two things in the book. The first is to talk about spiritual disciplines as means of loving our neighbor. I think we often think of spiritual disciplines in terms of what I get from it,
right?
In specifically my relationship with God. And so what I'm trying to do in the book is historically and sort of phenomenologically talk about how our experience of these things is doing much more than my relationship between me and God. And that they're actually means of loving our neighbor. And that correlates with the second thing I'm trying to do in the book, is to say each of these disciplines tap into everyday things that we do. Meditation taps into our thinking, fasting taps into our eating, simplicity taps into our owning. And so I'm trying to show that these disciplines are not disparate or extracurricular activities, but they're actually practices within the Christian tradition which help us reform our everyday living. And I think one practice in particular that continues to be heightened for me, and the importance of practicing it, is silence, specifically in relation to social media. How do you practice silence on social media? But one of the in that chapter on silence, I'm sort of exploring how we're all very quick to talk. We're all very quick to chime in, and there's another side to it. We're all very quick to get defensive and take jabs with our words and so on and so forth. And I think silence sort of recalibrates our posture in interacting with others, and to take that moment of pause and patience to say, is this really what I want to say? And is this true to what I believe about this other person? Namely, that this other person is my neighbor before I'm about to rip into them or something. And I mean, I've been thinking about how to use words on social media, or how to speak. Maybe there's some application here with images on Instagram, speaking through images. But yeah, that's one practice in particular that I've been thinking about with respect to social media, and in particular Twitter.
So for a youth worker who says, I want to use this practice in my church, like tomorrow, what are some concrete ways which you would say, do this? This is a good way to use it. This, Yeah,
I think it's quick. I immediately think of, ascetic monks used to put a little stone in their mouth to remind themselves not to speak first, or to just be aware of the need to pause. I think some others have said chew gum. But I like that because it's a very bodily reminder. It's not just all up here, right? There has to be some cue. So I think suggestions like that. I think going back to what we discussed earlier about introducing young people to the practices within worship time and space. I think that would be another simple thing to do, that we have a time of silence at Wednesday night Bible study, and begin to get them into the rhythms and patterns, that they become aware and it becomes a rhythm of their every Wednesday night, which might bleed out into their every day of the week.